Oh, wow.
A little bit better. Okay, oh good. So well. Hopefully it works.
What? The cooler in the middle.
Turn it off.
Airplane mode.
Airplane mode.
What was it?
So, all right. Oh, Ruben, that's it also. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's that show. Good. Good. Okay. Let's see how this new mic works. Let's see how it goes. Maybe not. Sorry for the guy with headphones. He's got a massive headache because he got shaken around. Okay. So we're now holding on Daf Hey. Baruch Hashem. Daf Beis was a bias with the ani eating his dinner, bread and salt on his shoulders. We're standing the Kohen, saying Kriya Shema. Gimel, 3 camels and a ruin. The first carrying a lion and a dove, the second carrying a levan navi, and the third carrying Dov Dalet. And Dov Dalet was the door that was spanning from Geula neighborhood to the Kotel, upon which the David Melech in a goofy, fake chassid costume. Daf Hey. So yesterday, we at the very bottom of Daled Base, we had said a whole new story. We introduced that there's a mitzvah, that's lashon of the Gemara, but it's not one of the target mitzvahs. There's a mitzvah to say Kriya Shema Lamita, which is totally unrelated to the mitzvah of that b'shach b'cha, that's mandated from the Torah's command to say Kriya Shema in the evening. So we're now, so to speak, a third time in the day we say Kriya Shema. In the morning, that's the uvakumecha, b'shach b'cha, same pasuk we're at night, and Mara, let's call it. And then at bedtime, there's another one. That's the Kriya Shema Lamita. And the source for that was a pasuk in Tehillim. It's a drasha. The drasha says, Rigzu val techatu, get worked up and don't come to sin. Imru bilvavchem, say the bilvavchem, a reference to the vavecha psukim of Shema. Imru bilvavchem, al mishkavchem, on your bed, that's bedtime in other words, v'domu sela, and then be silent, sela, that means go to sleep. So the drasha is, there's a separate mitzvah of saying the levavachem, al vavecha stuff on your bed before going to sleep. And I said, although you don't see too much yet about the benefits of it, but that is for some kind of shmira. It's evident from the Gemara as it goes on. A shmira against, for now let's just say shmira against, let's call them bad thoughts. Let's leave it at that for now. And, so it's saying rigs about techatu means get worked up and don't come to sin. So let's just say, assume for now this sin we're talking about is the sin of being plagued by improper thoughts. Leave it at that, and we'll see there are other angles of shmir as well today. But the Gemara went on to say on Daf Hey Aleph that Abaya said, well, if you're a Talmud Chacham, so then you need not say the Kriya Shema on your bed, because the Talmud Chacham is presumed to be learning his Mishnah all the time, and that learning will serve as a shmira for him. That will protect him, let's say, for now, just minimally protect him from improper thoughts and chait. By learning until the end of his night, that fills his consciousness, and therefore that's it. There could be many other pshatim, but I'll just get to that for now. But then the Gemara said, even so, there still is a requirement to give some pasuk of rachamim, I said it yesterday, like a prayer for mercy. I don't know if that's exactly the proper touch, the only touch, but we'll stick with that for now. And that even a Talmud Chacham must mention that he's entrusting, in this case, the pasuk brought by the Gemara was that Hashem, I entrust you with my soul, my spirit for the night. Period. That's what we saw so far in terms of the mitzvah, the din, say Kriya Shema Lamita. We gave a rationale for it, it's some kind of shmira. We gave a pasuk for it, it's built out of the pasuk in Riguz Val Techatu in Tehillim. And we said the din halach l'maisa is that a person indeed must say Kriya Shema. There's no such thing today, says Tiferes Yisrael and others, even with the Rosh already. There's no such thing as a person who's manazeh, who's considered a Talmud Chacham, who's sufficient to not need to say these psukim of Kriya Shema. And there are other psukim that I'm not getting into now. They're not in our sugi at all. They're not in the brachas. But la halacha, if you look at Reish Lamates, we just there, you'll see that there are other psukim that you say Kriya Shema Lamita, and there's also Bracot Hamapel. We're not discussing that now anymore. We mentioned yesterday a bit of that. That was the Gemara, sort of open and shut, and new din. Then the Gemara sort of segued and said, oh, well, once you mention the pasuk of Rigzu Al Techatu, so that within that pasuk has the key to fighting the Yitzhahara in 4 simple steps, so to speak. Now, plan A is Rigzu Al Techatu, if you just broke up the pasuk into 4 pieces. Rigzu, if you make a fight between the Yitzhak and Yitzhahara and confront it on, agitate yourself to make this war, so then you won't come to sin. Rigzu Al Techatu. And that really, the Gemara preference that did with the word la'olam. Person la'olam always should start with Rigzu Al Techatu. So we said different pshatim. Either it means that's how it always should start. Maybe it means that even mitzvahs aseh, that not just los asehs. The Gra said a person is always in this battle forever. There's with Noach Weinberg was fond to say, it's not his, but he was fond to say it, that the Bir Halacha brings 6 mitzvahs to medios. There are 6 mitzvahs that a person is always on a person, meaning all the time, every second of the day. There's no such thing as a mitzvah. I don't get the mitzvahs to medios now, but of course you're never allowed to eat chazer, but you're not the kind of mitzvah of not eating chazer now because there's no chazer on your plate. It's a passive. It lurks when it's applicable. But there are 6 mitzvahs that are applicable at all times. And one of those 6 is a law of los asura achel bavchem v'achar nechem, which once you get through with the Bir Halacha there, the Chavetz Chaim basically says anything you shouldn't be doing or shouldn't be thinking already is negative, essentially, loosely speaking. You should learn that sometime, but not this minute. So then you're always confronted with the Yitzhak. The point is, you're always in the battle with the Yitzhak every second of the day, at least with the Los Asuru, to not have your Levavacha is to be thinking about non-Torah thoughts, and Inecha are to take an interest in things that you shouldn't be taking an interest in. So it's pretty broad. And that's always there. You're always in conflict. Your heart and eyes want to go astray. Los Asuru, don't go astray. In any case, maybe that's the shot la'olam. You're always in this battle. Whatever it is, la'olam, first you should Rigzu Al Techatu, fight the war directly head on. Your Yitzhak Tov to confront the Yitzhahara. But if that doesn't work, then the pasuk Ketil gives you a plan B. Plan B is, well, Imru Bilvavachem, speak it to your heart, into your heart. That's a reference to learning Torah. So plan A is just to confront your Yitzhahara and be disciplined and be strong. If you can't, or it's not working, then go to the base of Midrash and learn, and that, whatever, so to speak, learn Torah, and that will fortify you. And I said there are many questions about that the Achronim are asking, which is, wait a second, the Gemara elsewhere says that there's a Yitzhahara, and its antidote is Talmud Torah, so how could you need a plan C? Plan B should be sufficient. So the answer, in various ways, basically, well, if you don't really mean it, it's not fulfilling your heart. Perhaps that's a very pasuk, Imru Bilvav, and your heart has to be filled up with the thoughts of Torah thoughts. If your heart isn't in it, so to speak, so then it may not be a sufficient antidote to stop your Yitzhahara. So then there was a plan C, Al Mishkavchem, that was a reference like Shach B'cha, saying Kriya Shema, and as I touched it up, the thought that you're supposed to have when you say the first pasuk of Kriya Shema of Yichud Hashem, that's what Kriya Shema is, right? That there's nothing but Hashem, and it goes on to say, therefore you have to Ve'ahavta, you have to love Him, B'chol Vavach, B'chol Nafshach, B'chol Ma'odecha, like this all-encompassing love, and that should drive you to do the right thing, overcoming the Torah. If that doesn't work, then plan D, like the nuclear bomb, is that the Domusela Yizkar Lo, the pasuk of the Lashon of the Gemara, remind himself of his death, his ultimate mortality, and that for sure will work. Again, I spoke out the Meforshans, focus on the word lo. So could have said Yizkor Yom Moso, remember the day of his death. What's Yizkor Lo? Remind himself of his day of his death. So different answers, but I basically said you have to. One of the other, the basic gist is you have to see yourself not just as, yeah, I'm going to die, but picture yourself as actually being dead in the ground, like the worms eating you, and that sobering thought will definitely make you realize it's not worth it. I'm headed to the grave anyways, as worm food, and not be in the cheshbon, I'm not going to forget this sin. And that will work as a full antidote. And we asked the question, Leisha asked the question, which everyone asks, which is, why don't you skip to plan D when you mess around with these, not certain things? So we said 2 answers, either because it only works in sequence, like it's you wear the Yitzhahara down by fighting with it, and then learning with it, and then saying Kriya Shema, then it's accretive, this process, and to overcome the Yitzhar. Or we said, no, certainly picturing immortality will certainly sober you up, but that's no way to live. It's no way to live, it'll have its other negative consequences. Either way, that memra, which I want to learn as being sort of related to this topic of Kriya Shema Lamita, just the pasuk for Kriya Shema Lamita is this pasuk also. The pasuk has two things. It has the drasha for Kriya Shema Lamita and this drasha for how to fight the Yitzhara. But that drasha had been said by a certain memra, Amar Levi Bar Chama, Amar Levi Bar Chama, Amar Shimon Lakish. So once we're saying stuff from Rabbi Bar Chama and then Shimon Lakish, he said something else also, another drasha unrelated, that you can see that the Luchos and the Chamisha Chomshei Torah and the Mishnah and the Nach and the Gemara all were given a Har Sinai. And he brings a pasuk, and then that's like a really out of the off topic. But anyways, that was yesterday. So now today we return now on Daf Ahei Amud Aleph. We're going to talk now back to Kriya Shema Lamita and the benefits it provides. So far we said only Shmira provided. We talked about it was only implicit, not even explicit, was against Chet. I'm even saying perhaps it's the thoughts of Chet. In any case, either way, if you look now on line 16, the first wide line, so it says, Amr Yitzchak, Kol HaKor Kriya Shema Lamita. Everybody who reads Kriya Shema Lamita, Ke'ilu, it's as if Ochez Cherev Shel Shtei Pios Biyado. It's like he has a double-edged sword in his hand. So Rashi just says, like, what's a double-edged sword good for? So Rashi says, La'arog es mazikin, to kill the destructive forces called mazikin. I can't help but want to see more in Rashi's words than are there. I hope what I'm saying is what he means. I don't know if it is. But when you see the double-edged sword, it has to suggest to anyone who's wise to ways of the Gemara's, polar bears, like there must be two things, two edges for two issues. It's just, like that's where my mind has to go. Another Meforshim besides me go the same way. So we had already established that this issue of a shmira against Chet, or Hirur Chet. So now we're having a second angle, which is going to be in addition to protecting from Chet, will also protection from the Mazikin. That's how others learn it. I can't help but think that Rashi means, and also to fight the Mazikin, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe Rashi just means a single double-edged sword to fight, lots of Mazikin. I don't know. But either way, I just can't help but learn the other way that it's got two benefits. The first benefit is the faith angle, and now we're talking about Mazikin also. Either way, how do you know there's a two-edged sword in your hand, so to speak, as if you are when you say Kriya Shema? Shneimar, because the pasuk says, Romos kel bigronam, the praises of God are in their throats, the cherv pifios biyadam, and a peh is a mouth, right? So pifiot means like two mouths, so it's a two-mouthed sword, it's like a double-edged sword. Biyadam is in their hands. That's a pasuk in Tehillim, and all it says, I'll read it to you again, it just says, the praise of Hashem is in their throats and the double-edged sword in their hand. Likudah. So that was the proof text that when you say Kriya Shema Lamita, that's going to protect you like a double-edged sword. So the Gemara asks what you want to ask, which is my mashma. How in the world do you see from that verse that this is Kriya Shema Lamita? So Mar Zutra said it to be Tema, and others say it wasn't Mar Zutra, but rather Rav Ashi, who said it. Mareisha Denyana, you can tell it from the topic at hand, meaning the previous pasuk, I'll call it, meaning that literally means the beginning of the discussion. The chsiv, because the pasuk in Tehillim that precedes this pasuk says, Ya'alzu chasidim l'kavod, let the chasidim, rejoice in song, in honor. Aliza is like rejoicing. Ya'alzu chasidim l'kavod, let the chasidim rejoice in a mechubad way, let's say, Yirvaranu al mishkavosam, and sing on their mishkav, on their beds. And mishkav, as seen already a few times, is like the Shach B'cha reference. It means let them sing on their beds. What do they sing on their beds? They're singing so to speak, the Shema that goes on the bed at nighttime. Uksib, so that's the Shema reference. Uksib Basrei, and then the pasuk says after that, Roimes Kel Bigronam, I'll put this word while the praises of Hashem are in their throat, right? I mean the Kriya Shema, by saying the Kriya Shema, v'cher pifiot biyadam. That is as if, that's the Gemara's lashon, as if now they have this double-edged sword in their hand. So that's the drasha, based on two psukim together, that one says Kriya Shema Lamita, he had a double-edged sword in his hand to protect himself from the Mezikin, or how I wanted to learn it, to also protect himself from the Mezikin, besides to protect himself from the Chayt. Now, so we're line 18 there, there's a period, it says Amr v'Yitzchak, Kol Akar Kriya Shema al Mitaso, anybody who says Kriya Shema on his bed, Mazikin, these forces, by the way, the next daf I'll deal with them more thoroughly because Mazikin become the main topic in daf. But in any case, the Mazikin, these damaging, dangerous forces, Badilim him, they separate themselves from him. The Badilim scram when a person's Kriya Shema Lamita. Shnei Amar, how do you know that? Because the pasuk says in Eov, Uvnei Reshef Yagbiu Uf. Oh gosh, I don't know. The spirits, Bnei Reshef is like boogeyman spirits, something like that, like demony spirits. So Bnei Reshef, the children of nasty spirits, Yagbiu Uf, they are lifted up in flight, something like that, literally, something like that. So Uf, like the word Oaf, means it's like a bird fly. Yagbiu Uf sounds like they're lifted up in flight. That's literal translation. But what's the Uf reference? Not just any old flight, but it's Vein Uf El Torah. The Uf of the pasuk is a reference to Torah. So Yagbiu Uf means that the Torah is Magbiya them. The Torah lifts them up. Remember, our proposition was that one who learns Torah, so one says Kriya Shema Lamita, should say, the Mazikin are bedilim him, they separate from him. So the drasha is that by saying the Uf, the Uf, it lifts up the Bnei Resha, these demon forces from off. And then the Gemara says, well, Uf just means to sort of like fly away, something like that. But it says here, ve'ein Uf, when it says the word Uf here, Ela Torah, it means nothing other than Torah. Let me just say for a moment, this bothered me for years. When the Gemara says ve'ein X Ela Y, as in here it says ve'ein Uf Ela Torah, it does not mean that every time you see X, it means it's code word for Y. That's how I always wanted it to mean that, because in English, that's how it translates. If you say those words, and ve'ein Uf and Ela Torah, you translate it as, and the word Uf means nothing but Torah, something like that. So then you're going to become very frustrated very quickly. And I'll even point out in our very sugya, it becomes very frustrating. Because that's not what it means. It doesn't mean that Uf is code word for Torah. What it means is the Uf of this pasuk is referencing nothing other than Torah. You're
just in this situation.
Just in this situation. And if you don't learn like that, you have to learn that, because you'll find other Gemaras that say like opposite things. Like it'll say Ein Uf, Ein X Ela Y, then Ein X Ela Z. Well, which one is it? Or two different psukim that say X, and so on. And here you're going to have the other way around. You're going to say, in this circuit here, it'll say Ein Uf Ela Torah, and then we'll say, we'll darshan in a moment, Reshef. Ein Reshef Ela something, and Reshef Ela something else. Like, which one is it? So the answer is, you're arguing over what this X means in this context. So the proper translation is, when it says Ein Uf Ela Torah, it means, and the word Uf in this pasuk means nothing other than a reference to Torah. That's a very important point. They have to learn the Gemara properly. It's the only way you can learn. So, again,
what would the lesson be if it was trying to say that it's a general cloud, a universal cloud? Does it ever do that?
That's a good question. So, I believe, this is Rav David Gottlieb talking, but I believe he's right, so I believe him. But his contention that the Torah, the Chazal never mean absolute sentences. They don't mean that. Don't talk in that way. That's a Western way of, like a Aristotelian school way of thinking, that you want to categorize things, and you want to make absolute statements, and when you say some categorical statements, unless you've qualified it, there are no qualifications, and it's always true.
You're making
Deductive
an absolute
reasoning.
statement.
Right?
You're making an absolute statement.
So Chazal don't do that. And even though I'm making an absolute statement, as you're pointing out correctly, I don't. And you're right. It's a funny, good point. But but I want to even address your joke, which, so to speak, that's what my kid says when you dissect the joke, it's not funny anymore. So it's that Chazal may make absolute statements, but they don't mean to. It doesn't bother them. I think the Ramchal sort of touched on that in the essay we learned before. But here's what I mean. Let me say it now. When Chazal say even things like, if you learn Megillah, maybe you learn Megillah in preparation, so the Mishnah is there. So they say Ein Bain. They say Ein Bain. There's no difference between A and B other than some factor X. If you look at every one of those between A and B's, you will see they're never true. There are lots of ways in which A and B are different. But the Mishnah is focused on something interesting. And many times Chazal will say such and such is always the case, such and such is never the case. And they never, you probably can go through literally every case, and you'll find that there are always exceptions. That's what Tosfos is always saying, what about this, what about this? The answer is, I think this is true. That Chazal are, if you're an academic, let's call it Aristotle, like the grandfather of academics, and so on. So you're writing, you want something to be, when you write something, you want to be totally true. Like this is the Western, but all language is just conventional, step one. In other words, the point of language is for us to understand where I'm communicating something to you. I need some words that you mean the same thing to you as they mean to me. So in Western, the Western mode of communication, Western meaning the children of Aristotle, which we all are in the West. So when I say a categorical statement like X is always true, or nothing different between A and B other than such and such, so then what I mean is there are no exceptions unless I mention them. And you're justified in understanding, I mean there are no exceptions but I didn't mention them, and therefore a legitimate complaint to me would be, wait a second, what about this exception? And now it's sort of shoot me down, and then I have to write my thesis, I start from scratch. But that's because, I don't know, I can speculate why that is, but the Aristotelians and the rest of us, since then, the last 2,500, 300 years, are trying to be very, in academia let's call it, trying to be very rigorous. The word is rigorous, right? In other words, and precise in what they're saying. And if something is said to be true, it means in all cases, period. That's the convention. That's the conventional way of talking. Chazal don't care about that, I don't think. Chazal were not ever interested, I think, put a lot of words in their mouth here, in making these like categorical statements that never have any exceptions. What they're interested in doing is teaching people about how to live. And therefore, if there's some weird case that's an exception, they shrug their shoulders and say, okay, so yes, I didn't mean that. It doesn't bother them to say, this is always true. They'll say, what about this weird case? They'll say, yeah, okay, and that too. But I'm telling you what you should or shouldn't do, or I'm trying to teach you something. I don't want to, as you will note, I'm making this imaginary machlokas between Chazal and Western philosophers, whatever, which may or may not be there. But if you have any experience with academia, you will see very quickly they spend their lives fighting over the exceptions and the precision and how to articulate and what about all the details. And they're very quickly lose sight of the big picture. Chazal didn't really care about, I believe, Chazal didn't really care about exception. When they said state sentences, made declarations, they're trying to convey a big picture because that's how human beings really function. I want to tell you what to do or what not to do, and they say, oh, this is how it should be done. La'olam, la'olam do this. La'olam means always, right? What about such and such? Chazal say, okay, well, la'olam doesn't mean always properly. La'olam means most of the time, almost all the time. Chazal always means like
in
that.
this situation.
Yeah, Chazal I wasn't talking, and what I had in mind was this. That's just so many times you'll see the Gemara will have to end up saying, oh, like in what context were we talking about? That was in the Ramchal mentioned. We're only talking about in such and such a case. We weren't worried about that weird stuff. So, I think I hope I said it's clear. When you're learning since language is conventional, I'm telling you, to the best of my understanding, this is the Bedtime contention, and I think it's true, and will resolve a lot of your frustration as you learn through the Gemaras. When Chazal says something which seems absolute, like la'olam this, or aim this, ela that, whatever it is, what they mean is most of the time, or the context I'm interested in talking about, and there could be other contexts other times. I'm not interested in discussing them now. And I never meant that. It doesn't bother Chazal to be only talking about 95% of the time the outlying issues that are not what we're talking about.
Isn't all just emphatic? It's like trying to say it's.
Well, yes,
it
but
doesn't mean it's absolute. It's just emphatic.
That is what I'm saying it means. I'm saying the olam, which let's for argument's sake say the word olam properly translates or best translates to the word always. Let's say. So anyone who's like never learned a Gemara before and has got academic training like from university will say always such and such. That means always, unless you put a little footnote, except for you mean always. And if you didn't mean always, you wouldn't have said always. You'd have said sometimes. Because I'll never say sometimes. There's almost, I don't think there's even a word off the top of my head for sometimes, so to speak. Most of the time. They don't say stuff like that. They're trying to tell you clothes. They say always do this. It's always like this. And always means 95% of the time. The word always means 95% of the time. I don't know. That's how human beings are. I mean, it's in my observation, women are very do this often, right? Do it much more than men. I don't know why. Right. Always means right now, right? You always. That just means for the past 5 minutes you've been doing such. Right? Because that's just you have to understand that's what it means. So when Chazal say always, they mean most of the time. That's what they mean. And once you understand that, then it's not going to bother you anymore. Right, but if you don't understand that, then you pull your hair out saying, how can you saying always, it's not true.
So it apply to never also?
Yeah, it would apply to never. Yeah. I don't think Chazal talking, doesn't bother them to make these absolute rock, never, without exception, statements. Either it was or never, it doesn't bother them. They don't mean that. So that was your joke, an absolute statement. I'm sure maybe it's not even true. Maybe there are taka sentences that they have no exception. But so what? That wasn't Chazal didn't think, finally we got one just right. No. That was just as relevant and good for them if it was 95% all the time, right? I think that's how Chazal worked. And by the way, again, I think Chazal do that. I speculate because that's how people do it. When I tell you, women, blah 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 blah. Like obviously, I don't mean every woman on the planet. There's some, there's always exceptions to every rule. And once you accept there's exceptions to every rule, so it doesn't bother you anymore to start making rules. That's not how Western academia has been trained today. That's not. The interest is always in the exceptions at this point. Here in Chazal aren't really focused on that. So anyways, it's an important klal to have, because here, for example, when they say ve'ein uf el Torah, the words mean something like, literally, uf means nothing but Torah. But maybe you'll find other ufs I don't know if you do. You could be that you find other ufs in Tanakh that aren't talking about Torah at all, they're talking about something else. Because I will say, okay, all I meant was ein uf in this pasuk. It means nothing other than Torah. It's clearly the proper translation over here, the meaning of the Chazal's intention. So again, back inside, just follow the thought in one fell swoop here. We're starting on line 18, Rabbi Yitzchak said, Kol hakor kriya shema mitaso mazikin b'dilim himenu, shene'emar uvnei reshef yigbiu uf. The bnei reshef are lifted up, uf, so uf would mean sort of, I guess, in flight. But ein uf doesn't mean they're lifted up by like their own flapping their wings. Uf here means Torah. And meaning they're lifted up and therefore they're badil from you because of Torah. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says, now we'll bring a proof that shows you how uf can be a reference to Torah. Which, by the way, you'll see even here is very oblique, but because I'll see it there.
They're not harming you, they're not harming us because we're learning Torah?
I didn't follow, so ask me again.
They're not going to harm us?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The understanding, the simple reading of the words would be, when you're learning Torah, it lifts the mazikin off of us. Something like that. We'll have to come back, although I won't have an answer. But I'll just put the question on the table at the end, that the proposition, if we're being rigorous, it's always tricky that there's an intersecting of rigorous Western stuff, learning, so to speak, with Chazal. I can't help that. That's how I'm trained to think and how you're trained to think. I don't know the way of thinking, really. But the proposition started out by saying Kriya Shema. Look at the words again. On line 18. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Kol hakor kriya shema al mitaso, reading kriya shema on your bed makes the mazikin go away from you. Then the proof is only coming that it's magbia uf, and uf is Torah. So what the proposition was, we're protected by kriya shema al mita, and the proof is going to come that when you learn Torah, they're badil from you. That circle is not totally tied together, and it's not going to tie together. So that will be the Achronim, I'm sure, will all deal with that problem and come to various solutions.
So if you don't,
so you're just here now. You push me. I'm just making the point clear. There's going to be a loose end lurking in the sugya. The structure is. I'll come back. I'll remind you in a second. We're going to bring a proof that Torah makes the boogeymen go away. But our original proposition was that Kriya Shema Lamita makes the boogeymen go away. That somehow we'll have to understand, however it will be, that Kriya Shema Lamita constitutes the Torah that makes the boogeymen go away. How that exactly closes is not explicit here at all. Okay.
Are we talking about the boogeyman sleeping?
I think so. And also, yeah, it seems like at nighttime they really come out to play, right?
Is that why you let Rabbi, is that why you have bad dreams?
Probably not. Bad dreams probably come from a different place. Well, you know what? We'll discuss dreams in night parak at length when we get there. Bedtime Shema, I'll discuss it. It's a lot of dreams stuff. But probably not. Dreams probably come from different places and not boogeymen down here. Mezikin are these invisible quasi-spiritual forces that surround us all over the place. We'll see in the above. And they have impact on the world down here. But they're not affecting your sleep and your psychology. They're affecting your life down here. We'll see in Davav. You'll see more. We'll talk about Mezikin more in the Davav. What you saw already, we saw on Dav Gimel, right? When that was our simon of the dove, right? And that on the camel, Dav Gimel, that Eliyahu was a warning not to go into a ruin because there are Mezikin there. So they're afraid of Mezikin like getting to them, and whatever they'll affect. But it's some sort of it's not a dream fear. It's that they're going to get to here. Okay, anyways, back to this.
So if you don't learn Torah, creation means that won't help?
So stop questions. Hold it there. Let's the end of the thought, then we'll ask questions if they're still there. Hold the thought. So, but here, let's read one more time one thought here, and we're on line 18 again. The proposition is, if you learn, say Kriya Shema on your bed, the Mezikin will separate from you. The proof text, Shenetmar, Uvnei Reshev Ikbiu Uf, the Bnei Reshev, the spirits, which are synonymous with, understood synonymous here with Mezikin, Yagbiu Uf, they lift up, literally in flight, but Yagbiu Uf could also mean the Uf lift them up. So Ve'ein Uf Ela Torah, the Uf, this pasuk is a reference to Torah, so the Torah lifts them up, hence their badil is separate from you. It's like the force field around you that keeps them off. Shneimar, the proof that Uf means Torah, is this, Hasa'if Einecha, like you flutter your eyes, like you flutter your eyelids, and you close your eyes for even a moment, that's the point, it's a blink of an eye, and Bo Ve'einenu, and then it's gone. What's it that's gone, in the context there? It's talking about the Torah, like as you stop learning, as soon as you stop learning, you're automatically begin forgetting. The Rambam even passes that lahalacha. That's the Gemara over here, that any moments if you take yourself away and close your eyes from the Torah, the bow, that's a pronoun that's referring to Torah, and that is how we're seeing the word uf. There's a reference to Torah. Hisa'if, the hasa'if, the blinking of the separation from the Torah, makes it be gone. So you see that uf is Torah, and b'nei reshef, what are those things? Ein b'nei reshef ela mazikin. The b'nei reshef are referring to nothing other than mazikin, shene'emar, as the pasuk says. This is a pasuk, unlike these previous pasuk, this is a pasuk actually in Devarim, Chumash. It's from the Ha'azino. Ha'azino is difficult, very difficult. These are the Chumash to learn. I'm erasing my grand picture here of Taharas. So we need a pen. Maybe there may at least two colors. Take the many you got. Thanks.
Is that your work on the board?
That's my work. That was our previous.
That's what you're missing by
That's
not
you're
coming
missing
to
when I
the
come
Mishnah.
into this night here. Wow. Okay. So, goodbye to Taharos.
You took your pictures, right?
I took a picture.
That's like,
You know that this is going to be.
So, okay, so there's the pasuk. There's a reason why I'm drawing this out. Not just stop on board. I'm getting somewhere. So the pasuk in Ha'azinu says, "Oh, Bnei Yeshurun, that the Jews will be the Yishman Bnei Yeshurun, Yishman Yeshurun. Yeshurun will become fat, meaning like complacent and spoiled, something like that. V'yivat, and they will like kick, meaning they'll rebel against Hashem. So Hashem's response is bad stuff's going to happen. So this pasuk is the bad stuff that Yishman Yeshurun V'yivat. Hashem's response will be this also. So the pasuk reads. I want to write it here on the board, so you can see how the drush is working. Again, it's on line 21. Not a whole pasuk. V'nei Reshef. I want to get exactly right. I'm sorry. V'nei Reshef. That's all I want. I'm sorry. That's what the fuck you want. Sorry, I'm wrong.
Mezei,
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's the Mazira, where is that? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay.
Line number.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. I apologize. Line 22 it says Mezei Ra'av. That's the word. That's a pasuk. Oh. Okay. Mezei Ra'av. Uchume Reshef. With the Ketev Meriri?
Yeah.
Russia,
Yeah, exactly right.
Ketev,
The Ketev. Sorry, I keep losing. So I don't know. Yeah, there's the Ketev Meriri. Ketev. Okay, so this Vav's here, right? So that means. The point is, so you have three things in this process going on here. We have Mazei Ra'av, we have L'chumei Reshef, we have Ketev Meriri. So the drush, okay, so let's just somehow translate these things. Mazei Ra'av means like famine, you know, when you're the distended stomach, the bloating of famine, if you've seen those horrible pictures of like, you know, Ethiopia, whatever it is. Ethiopia seems out of fashion, those new in the famine place, Sudan, whatever. So, but anyways, Mazei Ra'av isn't like bloating famine. That's like pretty miserable, right? L'chumei Reshef. And like Milchama is a war, like called struggles. Struggles of here. Reshef, whatever this Reshef is meant to be, but Reshef is a not clear term at the moment. Now the Ketev Meriri is like this, look at Rashi there, you'll see, it's this midday demon. No, it's some demon, it's this name, his name is Ketev Meriri.
Right.
And he does this thing at noon in the day. This is a pasuk. This is a pasuk. So
during 3 weeks, you're not supposed to.
yeah. Well, sorry. In 3 weeks.
Yeah, you're supposed to be careful because of marriage. That's what it says.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. So get another color here. So where the drasha is, how do you see what's Reshef? Reshef is a reference to damaging spiritual forces because we're looking at it as this way. The context of the pasuk is like the wars between the Reshef and the Ketev Meriri. So the same way Ketev are Reshef are I don't know, Mezikin. Damaging spiritual forces that are fighting with this demon of the daytime. So that's the pasuk. The proof text is how you know Reshef of Uvnei Reshef Yagbiu Uf. Reshef means Mezikin because you see from this pasuk in Devarim that the Reshef are the kind of things, these spiritual forces that fight with, in conflict with other kind of
They're
demonic
fighting each
forces.
other.
Fighting some sort of war between them, some sort of struggle between the two of them. Whatever that means. But anyways, right.
Wait, there's not a war between the other two? That's what Rashi says.
no,
No, I don't think he does. One second. Hold on. I don't understand your question. I'm not even addressing it.
Okay.
Take it the other.
Okay.
So that's the drush over here. You'll see. I think it'll in the next drush. So you'll see what it is now. So again, so the Gemara reads like this: Vein reshef el mazikin. The reshef that the uf pushes away are the mazikin. Shneimar, the pasuk says, "Umazei rav l'chumei reshef the Ketev Meriri." That's not relevant to our drasha here. It's the wars between the Reshef and the Ketev Meriri. So you see the Reshef is a Mezikin. That's the drasha. That's a proof, if you will, that the Reshef is a reference to, and the Reshef of the pasuk in Eov is a reference to Mezikin, and the Uf we saw before is Torah. Period. That's a period. I'm going to stand up here for a moment. That's kind of a discussion, but let me say the next line also before we take any questions. So, like it's a new paragraph, but while we're on that topic, so to speak, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Kol ha'osek b'Torah, anyone who learns Torah, Yisurim, generic afflictions, good, Badilim himenu, they separate themselves from him. Shneimar about the pasuk, Uvnei Reshef Yigbiu Uf, same pasuk. Vein ein Uf el Torah, again, Uf is nothing other than Torah. Uf, this pasuk is a reference to Torah. So by learning Torah, Yisurim are separate from you, but who says that Reshef that are separate from you is Yisurim? Maybe it's Mazikin? No, because Shneimar, the first pasuk is Ve'in uf el Torah, and the uf of the pasuk is referring to Torah. How do you know? Same pasuk before Shneimar. V'sa'if einecha, you blink your eyes. Bo on the Torah ve'einenu, and it's gone. So it's uf Torah, same as before. Ve'ein reshef, as far as reshef goes, ein reshef eli yisurim. Reshef means nothing other than yisurim in this pasuk. Shneimar mezei rav l'chume reshef. Same pasuk. But again, here we're saying that the reshef means yisurim. How are they seeing that? Because the way that this structure is working is, you get another color. It's pairing like the pair is this too. This is already this part of the pasuk, and it's saying what's coming your way as being V'yishma Yishon V'yivat. It's Mazei Ra'av, bloating famine, and L'chumei Reshef, other Reshef struggles that will face you. Whatever the Reshef struggles is generically understood to mean Yisurim, suffering. This is the pair. And like this is, in Ketamuriri is coming to get you also, that's not relevant to our discussion. So the first drasha looked at the second half of the pasuk saying it's a conflict between the Reshef and the Ketamuriri. So you see Reshef is Mezikin. This drasha here is ignoring that, and it's saying what's coming to get you is bloating famine and the struggles of Reshef. And you just think whatever Reshef is, it's some kind of misery that you're strapped to struggle with. You understand? That's the drashas are going in the opposite direction. So you see already here, I mentioned before about the frustration of the Ein X Eloi. The Gemara says on one line, Reshef means nothing other than Mazikin. Then it says, Reshef means nothing other than Yisurim. What do you mean? Which one is it? Here you could get out of the knot by saying, it's a machlokas. But I don't even know if you need to say that even. I think it's about drashing it by parsing it this way. The vavs, because you have two vavs here. The vavs aren't the vavs from the first half of the pasuk. But because you have two vavs here, you could parse it green way, or you could parse it brown way. And the analog of Ketamuriri is Reshef, boogeyman, and the analog of the Chumei Reshef, of Mazei Ra'av, like horrible misery of famine, is other kinds of struggles people deal with, Yisurim. And see, that's the structure. And let me finish to see if that's the period I want to stop at, and then I'll take questions out. Okay, it goes on a little more before I can take questions. So the point we had here, Reb Shimon and Lakish, Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan always fought one another. They're Barputta and they're Kavrusas. So Rish Lakish had said this: if you don't learn Torah, Yisurim if you do learn Torah, it will protect you from Yisurim. So on that, Rabbi Yochanan says, come on, you have to come to a crazy place. Like in Eov, you think I guess Eov was off the beaten path, and you learn it down the way. He said, so I'm on line 22. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan says to Rish Lakish, come on. Ha'afilu tinokos shel beis Rabban yodan also. That principle, that if you learn Torah, it protects you from Yisurim, like every school kid knows that one, because that's a pasuk in the beginning of the Chumash, so to speak, meaning in the beginning of their career of learning Tanakh. Shnei, the pasuk says, V'yomer, Hashem says, Im shamoa tishma l'kol Hashem, if you will listen to the voice of Hashem, Elkecha, v'hayasher be'einav ta'aseh, and you do that which is right in your eyes, v'ha'azanta l'mitzvosav, you listen, you give ear to the mitzvos, u'shamarta kol chukav, and you keep the chukim, kol ha'machla, all the bad stuff, asher samti Mitzrayim, that I afflicted, like all the bad stuff that happened that I afflicted Egypt with, lo asim alecha, I will not afflict upon you, ki ani Hashem rofecha, because I am God, your healer. So the point is, the pasuk says explicitly that if you do the mitzvahs, including, of course, Fukav for learning Torah. But once you learn Torah as one of the mitzvahs, so then all the bad stuff that comes to people won't come to you. So you see already from the pasuk that learning Torah will protect you from Yisurim. So what is Rish Lakish? Says Rish Lakish. What do you this weird drasha from Eo for? Like it's black and white in the Chumash. Like what are you going with that? See? So he rejects that. Ella. Now I told you Ella means a rejection to what was said previously. This Ella is quite subtle because the Ella, what I would think was going to happen neppen next, like if I didn't have peek forward, the usual Ella would be Ella, your drush is wrong. This is the drush you should make. But that's not what happens here. The Ella is your relationship between Torah and Yisurim. Your Kiddush is wrong. Of course, it's true that if you do learn Torah protects you. That's the pasuk says it. But you should know that it's not what learning Torah can do for you that you should think about. It's what not learning Torah will do to you. You should realize. Ella, says Rabbi Yochanan, kol she'efshel la'asok b'Torah. If you could learn Torah, anyone who could learn Torah, ve'ena osek, and yet he doesn't, HaKadosh Baruch Hu maybe alav Yisurim, then the Yisurim will proactively come to you. Not just any Yisurim, Yisurim muchoarim. It means like ugly Yisurim. Va'ochronoso, and they will make you ugly. I don't know how to translate better than that. So it means that. It means something like that. Yeah, ugly. Mu'uchar is like ugly, unseemly, not nice. How do they translate it there?
Mute with stones.
No. Mu'uchar means
Repulsive.
repulsive. Okay. It's repulsive, just as a fancy word for ugly. Right? But I'll bring repulsive Yisurin to you, and they'll make you repulsive. Shneimar, the pasuk says. Now this pasuk says, "Ne'elamti dumia." An Elam is a lame person. So like
That was the one.
like something I can't. Yeah, Ne'elamti dumia. Like Daughter Melech says, I become lame with silence, stillness, something like that. Dumia is like v'dor musela, like lying in bed going to sleep. Ne'elamti dumia. It's just poetic, right? I became lame with non-movements. I don't know, non-anything. That's not relevant, really. This is relevant. Hecheshisi mitov. That means like I became silent from tov. I stopped speaking tov, if you will. I became silent of tov. V'che'evi ne'ekar. And my pains were ugly. Something like that. So the drasha, ve'ein, here's another ve'ein. Ve'ein tov el Torah. When it says I became silent from tov, the tov I was silent from is the Torah. So since I became silent from learning Torah, so David Melech, ugly pains headed my way. That's the drasha, that's the proof text that you see that if you don't learn Torah and you could, so then Yisurim, that's like Ka'avi, Ne'akar, that are ochen, that are ugly, will visit. So it says, Ve'ein tov el Torah. How do you know that tov in this pasuk is a reference to Torah? Because Shneimar, the pasuk says elsewhere in Mishlei, Ki lekach tov nasatzi lechem. I've given you a lekach tov, a portion that's tov, that's good, to you. Torasi, so you see it's clearly a reference to the Torah, because my Torah, that the lekach tov, I gave you the tov, al tazovu, you shouldn't abandon it. So, I don't think the way to learn the Gemara is that this is proving to you that if you do abandon it, bad things will happen. And that's not the point. I think it's just simply the same structure as previous. How do you see that tov references Torah? Because of tov is the lekach tov, that's the Torah. That's all it's saying, I think. So you see that tov is Torah, and it says that hecheshisi mitov, I was silent from the tov, and kaveh ne'akar, ugly pains came away. So you see a proof. It says Rabbi Yochanan that if you don't learn Torah and you could, then ugly Yisurim come your way. So again, so I have a bit of a machlokas here at that point. Rishon ben Lakish, Reish Lakish says if you do learn Torah, it protects you from Yisurim. Rabbi Yochanan says it's like not as pretty as that. If you don't learn Torah and you could, again, that's true. That's certainly true what you're saying. That's not the point. That's not relationship. The relationship is worse than that, or more potent than that. It's even if you are passive and don't learn Torah when you could, then Yisurim come to you. Right? So it's like much, right? And that is the that's the end of that thought. Yeah. So now is the time to take questions. Yeah.
One question I had was you were talking about Torah from the pasuk, but obviously you can't learn Torah while you're laying in bed. I mean, you're not going to get, like you say, you're not going to get up and go to the base of Midrash.
Even if you're sick.
Now, if you're laying in bed getting ready to go to sleep, you're not going to learn Torah. You're going to say the Shema.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not even sure to understand your question. What are you asking on? What are you asking on? Are you asking a question? You make a comment?
I'm making a comment.
Yeah. Okay. I don't. Yeah.
That you're not going to be learning Torah when you're going to sleep.
Okay, and therefore.
So I'm seeing the same Shema, the recitation of the Shema, is the Torah that they're talking about.
Oh, I see. Okay, good. Okay, so I'll restate your comments, everyone else, to make sure I'm on the same page as you. At the beginning of the piece,
Right.
I said, well, the circle doesn't close.
Right.
Because we originally said that if you say Kriya Shema Alamita, that'll protect you from Yisurim, the double-edged sword. Then the proof text was, the Torah is Magbiya the Uf, and I said, well, you have to somehow say, well, Torah is Kriya Shema Alamita, and it doesn't connect. So your suggestion is, well, what other Torah would you be learning in bed other than Kriya Shema, because you're going to sleep now. So, okay, good.
Why doesn't the circle close? That Torah, that Shema that you're saying is Torah. That's
Torah.
It's
Okay, good. Okay, so I guess
Sukkim. It's
agree, 100% agree. Okay, so let me tell you, language is conventional. Let me tell you the conventional. When I'm saying, I wouldn't leave you in the dark and say like, how to close it closes. But and who knows? I'm like, we're stuck. I would speak out that it's a problem. What I mean is, there's 1,000 ways to answer this question. It's not it's the dots aren't fully connected, but like it's obvious.
It's blind.
Everyone asks a question, everyone answers in different ways. Like all these ways you can say, and some are more innovative than others. There's no. All I meant is if we're being rigorous learning, and our proposition is when you learn Torah, you say Kriya Shema Alamita protects you from Yisurim. What's the proof? Because learning Torah makes the Mezikin go away. So you'd say, well, wait a second, that doesn't say Kriya Shema Alamita has the power to do that, and the Gemara doesn't answer that question. So I have to close the circle somehow. Everyone, you and unfortunately, all have their answers how it closes and why it's being matzim. Yeah.
I had another thought. It's totally the opposite of what they're teaching or the Chachamim are saying, but it says the Mezikin will go away. But I'm thinking that when you go to sleep at night, Hashem takes your neshama, and your neshama is going away to be protected by Him. And the Mezikim are going to stay down here.
But okay, good. But you'd still need protect. Let's assume a Mezikin or a boogeyman that make people sick. So then your body's still down there, and even if your neshama is up there, which first of all, yes, the nefesh is down here. That's not the point. I mean, even without getting into that fancy stuff, the point is your body,
Right.
is still lying in bed, and you don't want to catch a cold, or you don't want to go insane, or you want the boogeyman to climb up here or whatever.
Well, you have
I get it.
Yeah.
I think what he was getting at, and I think that was, I read it over here in the article, that's what the double-edged sword is, that one's the white double-edged, one's for the neshama to be protected, and the other's for the goof to be protected.
Oh, yes, so that was nice. Who says
It
that?
says actually, there was a note here.
That's there.
I just read it.
Oh, okay, good. So good. So see, someone else, who was it? Whoever said it. So
Hadashim Gam Yishamim.
yeah. So everyone has to see that. I think, like I told you, you have to see there's a double-edged sword means two things happening.
Right.
Like it's screaming, two things happening. So by me, the two things happening was the fate from the previous Talmud and then the Mezikin of this Talmud. The reason I spoke it out only is because, only because Rashi's not saying that. I guess let me speak that up more fully. So my policy, let's call it, of teaching is I'm trying to stay true to Rashi. To the extent he says something, Rashi says something that's I'm filling lots of what Rashi doesn't say, but I'm not going against Rashi, so to speak, if you know what I mean. I'm trying to keep consistent with Rashi. So here Rashi didn't say what I said. Rashi says the double-edged sword is to keep the Mezikin, to kill the Mezikin. So and I said to you it's two things, the Mezikin and the Chet. So I felt compelled to speak out that Rashi doesn't say that, and I'm hoping he means that. Or maybe he doesn't, but if not, then I'm going against Rashi, which I wouldn't even do. But because when I say the word double-edged sword, it's screaming to me two functions. It cannot be. So that the Yishamim Gam Chadashim is saying that the two functions are to protect your soul from Chet and your body from Mezikin. Good. Fantastic. That's really what I would expect someone to say. So, very good. Anything else?
Is there a distinction between Shadim and Mezikin? Or will we get to it?
So Rashi's equated the two. We'll leave it at that for now. On Dav Vav, that is for Mezikin, maybe we're going to pull out like a Derech Hashem or something, because Dav Vav, the topic of discussion is the Mezikin. But Rashi seems to equate them. Rashi says black and white, Mezikin are Shadim, I think he says.
Yeah, someone in Rashi, they use the word Shadim.
Rashi makes the equation, so that's easy. So,
Good.
okay.
That's good.
Aren't Mezikin the kids of